The next one we are going to talk about is QE from BoardGameTables.com. It's a fun auction game where you don't actually have money. You just make up money. You just get to decide how much you're going to spend, and whoever spends the most loses. It's kind of a really interesting game where you're really getting inside the minds of your opponents. You're trying to think, like, example, Chris will never play risky ever, so I always know that I can just bid just a little bit above him, but just a little bit. But then John, he's kind of like crazy risky, so he's going to be like, well, I haven't won one in like 2 rounds. I'm going to bid $1 million. And all of a sudden, John's entire thing blows up. But Chris is still terrified to go above $200. But I know that John went to $1 million. So I'm going to say, like, it's $1,000. It's $2,000. Anyways, this QE game, it's a wide open auction game. Very interesting, intriguing things. I've never really seen another game do anything quite like this. So we're just one of the games that we've had an interesting interactions with between the 4 of us. So we just kind of wanted to dive into this and give our thoughts about QE from BoardGameTables.com. All right, let's start with John. You want to give us your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, to kind of explain the game a little bit, the actual theme is that it's a worldwide financial downturn, and every country is trying to attract businesses to come to their country so they can jumpstart their economy. And so you're just printing money. As a country, you're printing money to get these people to come to you. And so just like in real life, if you print too much money, that's a bad thing. So whoever prints the most money at the end of the game cannot win.
Yeah.
And so nobody knows what you're bidding on them. And actually, it's every time I've played it, it's been a great time. But it has been rumored to suffer for some metagaming where there's really like kind of a formula you can run. If everybody's running that formula, it makes it not as much fun to play. And so that's where the QE expansion comes in with the commodities that Andy and I had the pleasure of trying out with Joe. What's his last name? Anderson?
Wiggins, I believe.
Joe Wiggins.
Anderson.
From BoardGameTables.com. And the expansion, I think, fixes any problems with the game that you would have with that, and I can't imagine playing it without it now after we played it with it like 3 or 4 times. So it's basically what it is. If you come in second place to win one of the businesses, you get to choose one of the 3 commodities that are available, and they all have different attributes to them. Some are risky, some are blue chip, etc. And also, whatever you spend on that second place, whoever the auctioneer is that round gets to deduct that from their total at the end of the game. So you could think you've spent way too much, and then all of a sudden some idiot like me spends $500,000 and comes in second. And so now all of a sudden you get to deduct $500,000 from the end of your total. So then, hey, I'm back in business. Let's print more money. So I think it adds a really cool element to the game, and so look for that. It's going to be on Kickstarter. I think it's on Kickstarter now. So
it is on Kickstarter right now.
So look for that now, and it's to me it's a must-have to go with QE. That's all I got on that.
Cool. All right. What about Andy? Let's hear from you.
Oh yeah, I did have the opportunity to play it with John recently, and I really liked it. I liked QE to begin with. It wasn't a bad little bidding game, and I love bidding games. I really do. I mean, whether it's games like The Estates, there's a ton of bidding games that I like. That's just one that came to mind. But Raw, High Society,
Medici.
Yeah, so it goes on and on. But QE is good, and the expansion just made it a must-have for me. I loved it. I love the additional interesting things, the awarding second place to people when they're bidding on things and giving them the choice of the different bonuses. I would definitely get it. I would definitely get it in a heartbeat. Unfortunately, my only gripe right now is that if I understand things correctly, you cannot buy or back just the QE expansion or QE and the expansion. You have to back a number of expansions that the same company has come out with for their other games. It's like an expansion pack, which that's fine, but man, I just want to buy the QE and QE expansion. So hopefully that'll be available at some point, but fun game.
Yeah. I think it'll all go to retail. So if you can't back it on Kickstarter, at least hopefully they'll come out individually in retail, and we'll be able to, make up for it for that. So, all right, Chris, what do you think? What do you think of QE?
So I have not played the expansion yet, but I've played QE. I know once for sure, and I think twice maybe. But I know that the game man, I'm so conflicted about it. When I first played it, I actually really hated the lack of certainty about the game. Just make up a number. I was just like, $2? I don't know. And like I remember playing it in like the first round, like I did do something like that, like $2 or whatever like that. And then Daniel was like 10,000. And I was like, what? Okay. Well, he's not going to do that again because like I did 2, and if you have the most, you're going to lose. So he's going to do like 100 next time. So I was like, all right, 100 to 1. Daniel's like 40,000. I'm like, what is going on in this game? And so like it just really threw me off, and I just really didn't like it at first. Well, I was very conflicted, like I said before, very conflicted about it. And it was funny, initially Daniel thought myself and everybody else at the table actually didn't like the game. We kind of digested over a couple of days, and we realized we did kind of like it. And then in preparation for the show, I mean, I know I was thinking about talking about it, and honestly, I think it's this game that thrives actually on meta. Like I know John was talking about there's sometimes a meta issue and stuff like that, and maybe there is if you're all playing by a very. I mean, I guess I can see the idea that meta is a problem, but I also think it could be a strength. Like for example, you played 3 games of it, but view each game as like a round, and then total the score across all 3. Yeah. And I think that there could actually be some very interesting like gameplay and dynamics that would be created from that meta, so to speak. So I mean, I am interested to play the commodities as well. Those do seem like some very interesting mechanics that could add a lot to the game, but. Yeah, like I'm kind of conflicted about it. I definitely would want to try to play the 3 games aggregate before I make an official ruling on the game. But yeah, it's definitely one of those games. It very much depends on the play group for sure. That's not one of those that is independent as a game. It's very much based on your play group.
Yeah. Well, and jumping back in, let me just say that I enjoy the fact that you can mess with people a little bit.
Sure.
My nature, those of you that don't know me, is to troll a little bit, and so I enjoy the fact that
all the flipping time.
Yes, I enjoy being able to mess with people a little bit.
All right. Well, I didn't really give my thoughts on it. I just kind of explained the game, maybe kind of poorly. Thank you, John, for covering me. Oh, no. Okay. So I was super stoked about QE when I first heard about it. I love auction games, much like Andy. I loved Estates as like one of my favorites. Enjoyed Medici a whole bunch. Don't really care for High Society though. I don't know why. It's because For Sale is better. That's why. It just is, and it kind of does the same thing for me. Yeah. Okay. Well, regardless, I was super excited to play QE, and I busted it out the first time, and I loved it. I had a blast with it. I thought it was so creative. It was so getting into your opponent's mind, and then look at the table, and everyone's like gloomy, and everyone's like, "Wait, what just happened? What's going on? Like, why are we bidding this?" And it was like this for like a whole 30 minutes, where like these people just weren't understanding it, and I was like, "Well, this must have bombed." And then the second time they were like, "Oh, we figured this out, so let's go ahead and play again." So I'm like, "All right, well, let's play it again." Well, the game gets kind of samey, so you don't want to play it back to back. Like Chris said, he said he wants to play 3 games. I would never want to play 3 games in this game. Every time I've played it, I played 2 games in a row. And by the second game, I'm kind of done with it. I'm kind of like, that's kind of boring. And then everybody else always seems kind of like mediocre about it. But what's weird about it is that after I talked to them after the next night, they're like, "Oh, that QE game was great." And I'm like, "What? Where was that during the gameplay?"
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Time after time after time I've played this game, that was the exact response I've gotten. So I don't understand something about this game that just makes people sit there in a stupor trying to understand it, and the whole time making the person explaining the game feel like, I obviously did something wrong. I was actually moments away from selling this game until our friend Ryan Evans, he had played it, and he the next day he was like, "I love that game, it was great." And I was like, "Oh, what, you liked it?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, would not have had no clue from what encountered last night. So yeah, no, QE it's a fun game. It's a great game. Like I said, the first time I played it, had a blast. But it's just kind of I don't know. It's hard to play multiple times, and like Chris said, I think that is the best way to play it, is multiple times. So there you go.
I think it's one of those games that going into it, I had read about it, so I knew a little bit about it. So it was kind of like I think, Daniel, I might have played with you and like 3 other people.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else knew anything about it. So it kind of had a little inside information where I'm like, I'm going to bid high early because nobody else knows. You got to, these numbers are going to go insane later in the game.
Yeah.
There's no way to stop it. It has to. So knowing that going in, I mean, if you don't know that, it's like Chris was saying, you're like, it's like a car wreck. You're like, what just happened? What, I was on the road and all of a sudden I'm in the ditch. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what's right up is down. Like, so what's going,
My gameplay
so-
with Chris
So
was
yeah, I
was
think you're just
epic.
kind of sitting there, so that's probably what the reaction you were getting from people. Was
Yeah.
like, what just happened?
Yeah.
What? I don't understand.
Yeah.
But
I love-
but it doesn't mean it's not fun. It's just you're trying to process it. It's trying to sink in a little bit.
Have you guys ever played an old game called Intrigue?
One's with you.
Once?
But
Yeah.
it sounds intriguing.
It's not actually.
It's not.
It's
Ironic.
it's funny because it has the same kind of flexibility where you can kind of do whatever you want, but it absolutely encourages you that you will basically backstab and lie to everyone throughout
Yeah.
the game. And it's just almost too open. And so QE gives you a little bit more control than that, but it provides you a little openness too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I was gonna say the first time I played this game with Chris, I will say I enjoyed immensely watching Chris's face just explode as I was writing down these huge numbers, and the whole time I'm thinking is, what is he bidding? Like, how is he not won yet? Now I know you were bidding 2 and 100. So yeah, the first game can be fun for the person teaching it, watching the
Yeah.
people's reaction, but that's not always the best experience for everyone either.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
But again, I mean, and I know we got to move on, but I do want to say that's exactly the reason that I do think playing that 3-game aggregate would be interesting because, like that first round kind of sets the baseline for the next round, and then the second round sets the baseline for the third round, right? And so, just it could potentially get just crazy out of control, or it could kind of go up and down, potentially, who knows?
yeah.
So.
Well, in the end, I would say that a QE, I think all of us enjoy it enough that we would at least want it in one of our collections. We play games with each other often enough, so I think if one of us had it, I think we'd all be happy with that. And I do want to also shout out to BoardGameTables.com for those who are local. Just know that they are actually officially one of our sponsors of International Tabletop Day, July 9th. So show them your support. Tell them that you heard about them from us, either on Around the Board or on our other local group, Fellowship, FBC Gamers is what we call ourselves. So, but yeah, show them our support, and we appreciate them, and we appreciate them. If you enjoyed what you just watched, click on the embedded video for the rest of the episode.